Joining me now is Amos Yadlin. He's the former chief of Israeli military intelligence. Thanks so much for taking the time tonight.
Good night, Jim.
So first, I wonder, with the U.S. strikes tonight, I know it's early for full assessments of the damage, but with the U.S. strikes tonight and Israeli strikes over the course of the last several days, are we seeing the end of Iran's nuclear program?
We have to wait for the BDA, Battle Damage Assessment, from satellites and from other sources. But I think that we destroy Israel about 70%, and what the US have done is another 20%, 20 very important percent that Israel can't do, the Fordo site. But remember, there are in the hands of the Iranians about hundreds of enriched uranium in a high level. And this is very difficult to find and to destroy. But after saying that, the weaponization process is now going to be very long because most of the scientists were targeted and most of the sites and the capabilities to weaponize this enriched uranium are now almost close to zero.
As you know, successive U.S. presidents have refused to go this far, to take this step. And until a few days ago, it seemed that this president was at least reluctant to bring the U.S. to strike Iranian nuclear sites. What do you believe got President Trump over that hump? What do you believe led him to make this decision? And was part of it driven by Israeli success over the course of the last several days?
I think it has to do with the understanding that Iran is not 10 feet high. For years, the American expert, analysts, military generals thought that attacking Iran will bring World War III or at least a regional war. Yeah. I think what they saw, the capabilities of Iran after the Israeli Air Force destroys their air defense almost totally, have air superiority over Iran, the ballistic missile force, thousands of ballistic missiles, and they hardly can hit Israel. They understood what I'm trying for about 20 years, that there is another mode of operation, which is surgical pinpoint attack on nuclear. And then with the B2, you send a diplomatic message saying, okay, we dealt with your nuclear program. We don't want a war with Iran as a state. We don't have any intention to go against the Iranian nation, but pay attention, don't retaliate. Don't retaliate because the US is very seriously stationed to retaliate back. And this can bring us to the main goal of this operation, which is a diplomatic solution, which is a better deal, much better deal than the 2015 deal, and include in this deal not only the zero enrichment, but also the ballistic missile force that should be dismantled. If this is if this will be the result of the attack tonight, it's exactly what the president said: peace through strength.
Let me ask your assessment, and you're not in Tehran, right? You can't see into the minds of Iranian leaders, rather. But would they trust negotiations at this point, either with the U.S. or with Israel, given the scale of military attacks? Might they conclude that they could make a deal and get attacked again? What would be the incentive other than no choice, right, to go to the negotiating table?
It's huge incentive to end the war and to save the regime. This is huge incentive. But Jim, look, they have three options now. To declare that they are coming to negotiate and asking to end the war, negotiating on the base of zero enrichment. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, they can do a symbolic move which is leaving the NPT and maybe trying to go to the bomb, even though I think their capabilities to do it not exist in the coming year or two. And the third option is to retaliate. And the retaliation also can be in a couple of stages. They can retaliate with terror. Their capability is quite low. They can retaliate against American forces in the Gulf, only Americans. And they can retaliate against the Gulf states, trying to block the Strait of Hormuz and attacking the oil-rich countries. This is where I will look in the next 84 hours, because the ball is in the Iranian yard, and they have to decide whether to come to negotiate or to retaliate and go to a war, not only against Israel, but also against the United States.
Where do you think Russia plays in this? Because, of course, Russia was a party to the 2015 nuclear agreement. Now, Russia is an ally, one might say, of Iran. Iran is supplying Russia with drones for its ongoing invasion of Ukraine. Does Russia help Iran in the current circumstances?
You see, Russia and China are Iran allies.
Yeah.
However, both of them will not risk their global position by going to war for Iran. Russia is already involving in another war in Ukraine. They will not open a second front. And China is interested in the Pacific, in Taiwan, and they don't have capability to project power, military power to the Middle East. So everybody think about a global conflict, I think, should think again. On the contrary, I think what the President of the United States have done today will help to calm down the Chinese in Taiwan and the Russians in Ukraine. And if you listen very carefully to Putin yesterday, he said about Israel, I have 2 million Israelis who are speaking Russians. I will not attack Israel. It's not on my agenda.
Are you surprised that President Trump is the American president who ultimately made the decision to attack Iran, given Trump is someone who ran against more wars abroad? He ran to end wars and to end U.S. military involvement abroad. Are you surprised he is the man who chose to take this step?
I'm not surprised, because I think there are people that finally understood that if you want to avoid war, if you want to avoid a catastrophe, and President Trump said, make America great again, doesn't mean that Iran will have a nuclear program. So he joined those who think that sometimes a preemptive attack can stop and prevent a disaster and Holocaust. Israel have done it twice, in 1981 in Baghdad and in 2007 in Syria. And these two attacks brought peace, not war. So I hope that what the president have done will bring peace. And I want it to do it on the three fronts. In Gaza first, bring back our hostages by ending the war in Gaza, and make the rule that we have done, the model that we have done in the north, the model that if the bad guys are going back to build their military force against Israel, America and Israel agree that Israel has the right to stop it. This is a new defense doctrine that Israel adopt, and I think what the president have done tonight will bring more peace to the Middle East. When Iran is weak, the Middle East is safer. When Iran is weak, the Middle East is more stable. When Iran is weak, peace can be achieved even between Israel and the Palestinians.
Quite a hopeful take. Amos Yadlin, former head of Israeli military intelligence, we do appreciate you taking the time tonight.
Good night.